Hey toy fans and Marvel fans alike, D21 Beast here, back with another sort of retrospective video. We are on the eve of Fantastic Four coming out in theaters this Friday in the United States. This will be the third theatrical release of a Fantastic Four film that we've had. This, of course, is a reboot of the films we got back in 2005 and 2007 that originally starred Ioan Gruffudd, Jessica Alba, Michael Chiklis, and Chris Evans. And what we're getting now is just a reboot based on the Ultimate Universe, but when the original films came out, I was actually looking forward to them. I had grown up on the 90s Fantastic Four animated series, this show right here. And yeah, you could talk a lot about how the quality isn't very good on the show, but this was my introduction to the Fantastic Four. And while I'm not as huge of a fan of Fantastic Four as I am something like the X-Men, or really even Spider-Man, I did very much enjoy that cartoon as part of the Marvel Action Hour. And I've collected a few things over the years related to the release of both of those movies, and even stuff related to the animated series that I'm going to show off, and I thought I'd go ahead and do another retrospective video. But before I got to that, I wanted to go ahead and tell you, I guess, about my first experience watching the Fantastic Four movie. I had actually been planning for weeks to see the Fantastic Four, the first movie, in theaters. I was really excited for it. It came in the middle of summer, and I can't remember the day offhand. I'm sure we'll see it as I get to the stuff I have for the film. But what I do remember is that my girlfriend at the time, wife now, her father had a company float trip, and we always went on these float trips. And they had actually scheduled the float trip for the Friday that Fantastic Four came out, which just completely blew my mind at the time. I was like, I can't believe they've done this. How can they not want to see this film? You know, I was probably the only person I knew who cared that much that the movie was coming out. So I made sure the morning of the float trip that my girlfriend, wife, and her father-in-law, that we all got up early enough that we could get ready for the float trip, get packed. We actually went to the earliest possible showing of Fantastic Four at a movie theater. I think it was like 11 a.m. or something like that. And we went and watched the movie before we hit the road for a couple of hours to go on our float trip. So that's just kind of a fun memory I have from seeing the first Fantastic Four movie. I'd known some of the actors previously. In my family growing up, The Commish was a TV show. Probably none of you guys remember that, but it was on USA and it starred Michael Chiklis, and it was just sort of a police drama, I guess. I don't know. I don't remember a lot about it. It aired in the early 90s, but that was probably the only actor going into Fantastic Four that I was familiar with. I had seen a couple of episodes of Dark Angel, but I wasn't really a regular watcher of that show, so I didn't have really any experience with Jessica Alba per se. I think Ioan Gruffudd might have been in King Arthur up at that point, which I had seen, but I don't know that I recognized him from it. And Chris Evans, I really didn't know anything about at that point. So it was really just kind of a brand new experience for me to see another live-action adaptation of an animated series that I had enjoyed as a kid growing up. I really did enjoy the Marvel Action Hour. It was really awesome to wake up on a Saturday morning and have an hour of Marvel cartoons like 6 in the morning. I thought that was pretty cool. So, but let me go ahead and get to the items that I want to show you guys here today. And just like with my X-Men videos, I don't claim to have everything out there related to the films, but over the years I've collected some interesting sort of, collectibles and trinkets for each movie. And I just wanted to go ahead and take a moment to share them with you. If you guys did miss my set of X-Men retrospective videos, definitely look to the link for those videos below this one, and you can get caught up on what I've got for those films. But today we're looking at the Fantastic Four, and like I said, we'll look at some of the stuff I've got for the animated series that came on in the 90s, but then we'll also take a look at the 2005 film and the 2007 film, Fantastic Four: Rise of the Silver Surfer. So I hope you guys enjoy what you're about to see here, and let's get to the content. Alright guys, so since I don't have a lot of stuff to share with you based off the Fantastic Four animated series, at least not enough to do its own video, I thought I'd go ahead and include it with this movie retrospective. Let's just look really quick here at what I've got. I have this McDonald's Happy Meal toy from 1996. Now this was actually part of a full line of both Marvel figures and Marvel characters that rode in cars. But this Fantastic Four Human Torch figure was just kind of a nice little articulated figure. He's got waist articulation, shoulder articulation. His head does not move at all, but he is sculpted with these sort of striations that you saw in the comics that represented the way that Human Torch would look in the comics at the time. He's got some nice translucent plastic here. His whole body's red. But then around the neck, he's got yellow translucent plastic, and it even comes to the eyes here. And I love this thing as a kid. I never had a proper Human Torch figure, so even with my 5-inch scale Toy Biz X-Men and Iron Man figures that I'd play with, I use this figure as my Human Torch stand-in. So I've kept it all these years. Not really sure why. It's not the greatest action figure, but I guess it wasn't too hard for me to lose, so there you go. Now, each sort of kids meal that was out at the time would come with these little booklets. And the first one I want to show you here is for a toy line that was at KFC at the time. And what was cool about this is you see that every character featured on the cover here was a character who had a show on the air at the time. Fantastic Four had a cartoon, Spider-Man had a cartoon, Hulk had just started on UPN with its own show, and of course the X-Men. Now inside it's pretty cool. It actually gives you the origin of each heroes. The Fantastic Four here are actually on the first page, and the artwork in this is actually really nice. Sometimes you see these promotional comic books and the artwork's not very good, but they really did get a good artist here. But the story involved is just pretty basic. It's one page, or rather 2 pages, for each character in the book. We have Hulk here. Flipping through, you've got Wolverine, actually, in one page. Wolverine running into the Hulk and his origin. Spider-Man on this page. And then the last page continues the Spider-Man story. And then it lets you know here that there's some computer software programs you can order. And as you flip through, you've got some games that you can see have already been completed. And then on the back, it actually shows you the toy line that was available at KFC. Now, back in the day, I didn't end up getting all of these figures. My brother and I, we each got different toys, though. I had the Spider Signal, which was kind of fun. And then my brother actually had the Hulk Pencil Topper. So, it was interesting, too, that KFC, I don't know if they really have any toy licensed products like that anymore. I think a lot of their stuff now, and I haven't paid attention, but I think a lot of their stuff now, if they even still do kids' meals like that, come off as pretty cheap. The other thing I have here, and I'm not sure where this came from, this might have been included with KFC, or this might have been included with a Toy Biz figure, is a little booklet kind of introducing you to the Avengers United They Stand animated series that aired on Fox Kids, I think about 1999 or so. This, for me, was my first introduction to the Avengers. Short of a few crossover appearances I'd had in comic books at the time, I never had a full-on Avengers book. So this is what introduced me to Ant-Man and Falcon. Hawkeye, of course, I already knew from the Iron Man animated series, but like Vision I didn't know before this show, so this was a pretty cool book too. And again, we get some pretty decent artwork in here, a nice rundown of who all the characters are. And as you flip through, you just see you have basically the main characters from the show kind of showcased here. So, and then as we flip through the back, what I think is kind of fun is we have an old Toy Biz Tough Talking Wrestlers ad here in the back. And then on the back, you just have the advertisement letting you know that it's an all-new series coming to Fox. Interestingly, it doesn't call it The Avengers United They Stand. It just says The Avengers. But of course, as the show finally aired, it was called Avengers United They Stand. This show, I think, is the only Marvel show that has not been released on DVD or streamed on Netflix at any point since it was canceled. Not sure what that's about. Maybe Disney just really doesn't like this animated series. And then we have this box set here for the Fantastic Four. Now, this is actually a pretty nice box set that we got, especially when you compare it to what was available for the other Marvel Action Hour show, Iron Man. Iron Man got a nice foil packaging, but it's just a slipcover with an Amory case inside. We'll go ahead and show this to you first so you see kind of what the low bar is. Inside, you have no special insert or anything, and then the disc are just these plain labels that say Iron Man. 3 discs in total, covers both seasons of the show, but with the Fantastic Four, we got something much nicer when the first Fantastic Four film was in theaters. You've got some original artwork here at the top, and then some nice foil worked into the logo. It actually looks like the logo from the animated series, especially from the first season. Let you know here at the bottom, it's both seasons of the show. On the back, you've got a complete breakdown of all the features, and then a description of the show, and then as we open it up, you have that same sort of artwork used again for an interior design. It has a gatefold opening, and then it's just really, really nice. I like that it tells you right here each disc what episodes are on the disc. Every Fantastic Four character naturally gets an appearance on one of the discs included in this set. And as you pull these discs out, you're going to see that there is more artwork behind the disc. We've got Thing and Human Torch on that side, and on the other side, as you can imagine, we've got Mr. Fantastic and Sue Storm. So a really, really nice box set, I think, that this was made into. Also really cool about this box set is that all of the original Stan Lee intros from the Marvel Action Hour are missing, they actually got Stan Lee to record brand new intros, kind of discussing each episode that was about to air. The one downside about these intros, as cool as they are and as fun as it is to see Stan Lee, is that he kind of spoils each episode before you watch it. So watch with nostalgia rose-tinted glasses on first, and or don't, maybe. Watch the episode first and then go back and watch the intro. But it was still really cool that they got Stan to come in and do brand new recorded intros for each one of these episodes. Let's move on to the movie content. In the previous retrospectives that I did for the X-Men movies, you guys may remember that I had movie buttons that the staff of movie theaters would wear while the film was in theaters to help promote the movie. Well, Fantastic Four was no different, and I have all 4 buttons that were available for that movie. The first one we have here shows the Human Torch, Chris Evans, on here. It says July 8th, and it's got Fantastic Four at the bottom. I'll let you know that's the Human Torch. So a nice button design. I do think it's interesting that they've cropped his hair off of this image, and I do remember the teaser posters in theaters doing the same thing. I always wondered if that was because his hair was so short that it appeared more black than blonde, and they were just trying to make sure they didn't, off-put any comic book fans. But it's interesting to see that that's kind of how he's cropped on this image here. Then we have Sue Storm, and you see here July 8th, the Invisible Woman. And interesting about this is that we've got some special effects here kind of showing her powers, but you'll also notice that the neckline on the costume is lower than it ended up being in the actual movie. A lot of the promotional imagery for the Invisible Woman actually had a lower neckline than she ended up having. And then we have Ben Grimm. So it says the Thing here at the bottom. We got July 8th, a nice image there of Michael Chiklis as the Thing. And say what you will about animated computer graphics today, but I do think that the costume for the Thing was probably as good as you could have done for making it practical. So I always appreciated that they did that in the first movie, because honestly, in 2005, we probably weren't ready for a fully CG thing yet. And then lastly, we've got the Mr. Fantastic button. And you see here it says July 8th, it says Mr. Fantastic at the bottom, and of course we see Yon kind of stretching his hands out. So those are the buttons that were available at the time. None of these I actually got from theater staff this time around. I actually purchased all of these on eBay. And now I have them to share with you guys. What's a good comic book movie if it doesn't have a movie licensed toy line to go along with it? And Fantastic Four definitely had that in spades. I think there were 3 waves of figures. I didn't collect all of them, but I did get the figures you see in front of you here. Now, 3 of these figures I've actually done individual reviews for: the Mr. Fantastic, the Human Torch, and the Thing figure. And you can definitely check the link to those figure reviews below this video if you want to learn more about them. But what I will say briefly is that I really think that the facial likenesses of these actors definitely shines on these figures. I mean, I think that does look like actor Ioan Gruffudd. I've got a little bit of a paint slop there on the forehead, but I think it looks just like him. The Ben Grimm figure I think looks especially like Michael Chiklis' version of Ben Grimm. Now this guy's got some accessories on his face, but we'll go ahead and pull them off here. I think that really does look like the Chiklis Thing. And the Johnny Storm, I think, is actually really impressive. Now, the flaming version, it's really hard to see how he looks, but if we go ahead and grab the snowboarding version of the figure here, I think, to date, this is one of the best looking likenesses for actor Chris Evans in action figure form, including all the Captain America figures we've received for him lately. Now, the accessories you see here, the face actually goes from Mr. Fantastic. It's just a flat face. You can pull off that head and put this one on, kind of mimic his powers, and the buzzsaw and the giant fist work the same way. But if we clear those out of the way, you're probably wondering what this other really gigantic piece is. This is actually a snowboard, believe it or not, for the Human Torch. It's got a couple of different functions. It's got a button on the back here that when you push it, pops some additional flames out of the back. And then it's got a button on the bottom that when you turn it on, adds a lighted effect to the front and the back section of the snowboard. That way it looks kind of like this snowboard is on fire, which is, you know, pretty goofy, I think. Honestly, I bought this figure on clearance just because I thought the likeness was really good back in the day. But this is definitely one of those more gimmicky style toys with play intended first and collecting probably not considered at all. But the figure does mount on that snowboard, and then you can actually pull the snowboard back, and it will actually slide forward if it doesn't catch on my review surface. Also, it should be noted that there was a toy line for Fantastic Four Rise of the Silver Surfer, but the figure line had gone from being a 6-inch scale figure to a 3 3/4 inch, which humorously puts them more in line with the scale of this McDonald's toy you see here. But I'm not actually a fan of the 3 3/4 inch scale figure, so I didn't pick any up. I started with the 6-inch figure, and I'm going to stick with it. One thing I forgot to mention from earlier is when I saw the film in theaters, the theater I went to was actually handing out these Fantastic Four comic books for free on opening night. You can see it's got kind of a foil cover here and a very anime-inspired cover. But what you have inside is a Marvel all-ages adventure sort of story that just kind of reintroduces you, or introduces you maybe, to the Fantastic Four and lets you know kind of who their main villains are. It retells actually the first issue of Fantastic Four in kind of a modern styling. Probably this is an exact replica of our Marvel Adventures comic book. I don't know, I never actually read those series. But it's just kind of a fun inclusion. It was nice to get it for free, and especially nice if somebody wasn't familiar with the characters to have something to take home to kind of learn more about them. Finally, we come to the home video versions of this movie. I have here both the DVD versions of the film. I never picked them up on Blu-ray. But one thing you might have noticed already if you're a bit eagle-eyed is that both of these films have a particular font on them for the Fantastic Four. You'll notice here the 4 on the actual case is different from the 4 that we have on either one of these boxes. And if we go back and look at those buttons we had from earlier, you'll see that the Fantastic Four movie logo looked just like this. Sometime between the movie being in theaters and home release, they actually have changed the official logo for the movie. And I never really knew why that was, but you'll see here, it does have that updated Fantastic Four logo here at the bottom. Now what you're seeing here for the DVD of the first movie is a special collector's edition. I believe I got this at Best Buy back in the day. And it's just sort of a really crazy sort of case. At the time I thought it was really cool. Now I'm kind of sorry I've got it because it's kind of hard to stand up. But it has this sort of 4 circular container. You open up the tin, and just kind of pop it open here, and inside are a series of, well, we have the movie first and foremost. You got the movie with the 4 logo here on the front, let you know it's the widescreen version of the movie. This is just the standard version of the DVD, the same you'd get if you got the regular version of the movie and not the collector's edition. But the collector's edition content is what's below the disc. You'll see in here we do have these trading cards, these round trading cards. I'm going to go ahead and dump these out. Here we go. And we'll set this one off to the side here. But you can see we have just these cards with the Fantastic Four members on them, and we have some bios on the back of each of these. And as you flip through here, it's just kind of a nice, cool inclusion. Interesting sort of way that they set it up. with them being round disc inside of a round case. But still, I think really cool that they chose to kind of handle the bonus features this way, or the extra content this way. Got a shot there of Sue from the movie, shot of all 4 of them fighting Doctor Doom from the end. Spoiler warning, right? And then the other thing that this set came with, the real sort of special thing, is you got this disc. Now, before Marvel Unlimited, you used to be able to buy software discs that had complete runs of Fantastic Four comic books. That's what this is. Up until the point that this movie came out, I have here the entire run of Fantastic Four, Ultimate Fantastic Four rather, on CD-ROM. Pretty cool. And I don't believe I paid really that much extra at all, maybe $5 more to get the complete run of Ultimate Fantastic Four with my actual home video copy of the movie. So definitely a cool bargain back then. But like I said, the case is just a little awkward. I mean, it was cool when I was looking at it in the store, but it's just kind of weird sitting on a shelf. Now, they do try to give you a special display stand for it. I've never fully assembled it, but you'll see here inside the packaging. Let's go ahead and slide everything out here. Oh, and here's your scene selection that you would have had in the standard DVD case. But you have here this sort of cardboard stand that's designed to, I guess, be set on a shelf. But once you have it fully assembled, you'll just set the disc right in here, and it won't roll around or go anywhere. Now, I was never a huge enough fan of the Fantastic Four that I wanted to have the movie displayed for everyone to see 24 hours a day. But again, pretty cool. Still kind of keeping DVD special at the time, still keeping collector's edition special. And certainly it's easy to see that the way they handle collector's editions by the time the second movie came out had changed. Now, what we have here is the Power Cosmic edition of Fantastic Four Rise of the Silver Surfer. I do like that they gave prominence to the Silver Surfer on this version of the movie. On the back here, you can see all the special features available, and then a shot of Human Torch and Silver Surfer, kind of engaging each other. As you slip the cover off, one thing that really impresses me is that they have just a really nice piece of artwork of Torch chasing Silver Surfer. No words getting in the way or anything. I've always liked that about this particular collector's edition of the movie. On the side here, you got the name for the film, and on the back, you got a repeat of what was on the slipcover. Inside, however, I do have this comic book featuring the issue number 1 of Silver Surfer. And you flip through here, it's smaller, sort of digest size, but it is the complete issue as it appeared at, when the comic first came out. And then inside, we've got different discs here showing different parts of the movie. We have the special features here, and then I believe this is a widescreen and full screen version of the movie. I'm not going to pop that out, it's giving me a little bit of trouble. And that's everything you're getting in the Power Cosmic edition of Fantastic Four Rise of the Silver Surfer on DVD. But while we're talking about the second Fantastic Four film, there's one more thing I can probably show you that I think is pretty cool. The last thing I'm going to share is a bit of, let's call it trivia. While Rise of the Silver Surfer was in theaters, and the Fantastic Four were meeting Galactus for the first time, the Ultimate comics were actually running into Galactus for the first time too. Now, the Galactus featured in the Ultimate comics versus the version featured in Rise of the Silver Surfer were vastly different from each other, and I won't get into the minutiae of that here. But there is a pretty cool thing inside this Galactus trilogy that was pulled straight from the comics and put in the movies. There is a line, and if you'll remember, towards the end of Rise of the Silver Surfer, Andre Braugher's character in the movie, he's not playing Nick Fury, but he totally is. He has a moment with Reed where he insults him, and Reed kind of snaps back with a little bit of a verbal beating. That was kind of a nice line in the movie. And if you look in the comic here, you're going to see, word for word, Reed actually says, "You know what? I didn't. I stayed inside like a good little nerd, and now I'm one of the 12 smartest guys on the earth and dating the hottest girl in New York City. And that big old jock guy who played lots of ball at school, he's standing right in front of me asking for my help." So as I said, not really a piece of movie memorabilia since I'm pretty sure this comic came first. But still, I think it's really cool to kind of see the genesis of one of the lines from the movie. Definitely chalking this up to movie trivia. And why I thought it would be just another cool and quick thing to show to you guys. Alright, Marvel fans, so that's all the stuff I've got in my collection related to Fantastic Four the Animated Series from the Marvel Action Hour, and the movie Fantastic Four from 2005, and the movie Fantastic Four Rise of the Silver Surfer from 2007. Like I said in the intro, I don't claim to have everything, but what I do have I think is pretty cool, and I definitely wanted to show it off with you guys. Did I miss anything really interesting? Let me know in the comments below, I'd love to know what you guys have. And thanks for taking the time to watch this video with me, guys, and going down memory lane with me as I relive the Fantastic Four movies and the animated series. If you guys like these retrospective videos, please be sure to like them and share them with your friends. Also subscribe to me so you don't miss any future videos that I put out. Thanks for watching, guys, and we'll see you next time.